Midnight guest Ahmet had just moved into one of the oldest houses in the village. The house had been empty for years, and the villagers said it was cursed. Ahmet never believed in such superstitions. According to him, everything could be explained with logic. One night, while the wind was howling outside, Ahmet was startled by the cracking sounds inside the house. He thought it was the creaking boards of the old house. However, after a while, these sounds took on a regular rhythm. Knock, knock, knock. When Ahmet noticed this sound, he felt that something was not right. It was like someone knocking on the door. A little hesitantly, he got up and walked toward the door. Before opening the door, he paused for a moment and listened. Silence. He could hear his heart beating. He thought to himself, who could it be at this hour? He thought he might have left the door ajar. Maybe the wind had knocked the door. He opened the door slightly and looked outside. No one was there. Only darkness and the howling of the wind. He was about to go back inside when his eyes caught sight of something on the floor. An old, worn-out doll was standing on the doorstep. Ahmet tried to understand what the doll was doing there, but he could not find any logical explanation. Ahmet picked up the doll and felt a shiver run through him. The doll's face was covered in dust, but its eyes were blank and dull, as if it had seen something. Suddenly, the doll made a sound. Mother! Ahmet drew back in horror, and the doll fell from his hands. He quickly closed and locked the door, but there was a restlessness inside him. He did not want to spend the night here, but he had nowhere else to stay in the village. Ahmet decided to spend the night and went back to bed. But whenever he closed his eyes, the doll's dull gaze came before his eyes. After a while, he heard those clicking sounds again. This time it was closer. Ahmet listened with bated breath. The sound was in the room, right next to his bed. He was afraid to open his eyes, but he felt the presence of something. Finally, he mustered up the courage and opened his eyes. At the edge of his bed, in the darkness, stood the baby. This time his eyes were looking directly at Ahmet. The baby began to slowly move toward Ahmet's feet. Ahmet could not move, as if something was holding him back. The baby climbed onto the bed and sat on Ahmet's chest. Suddenly, Ahmet began to have difficulty breathing, as if a weight had settled on his lungs. The baby approached Ahmet's face and whispered in a cold, metallic voice, "You forgot me, but I never forgot you." Ahmet tried to shake the baby off him with one last effort, but no matter how hard he tried, he could not move. The baby stared into Ahmet's eyes, and suddenly Ahmet's entire body stiffened. His eyes darkened, and he stopped breathing. After a moment of silence, the baby whispered again, "We are all together now." The next morning, when the villagers found Ahmet, his face was frozen with fear and an old doll was on his chest.